Yes, it was a trailer. We can all agree on that, correct? So, here's the thing. What was the point? I mean, I'm gonna. If I were to task you with giving. If I were to give you the task of trying to convince somebody who has absolutely no interest in this new Avengers movie to get excited for it, what would you say to that person to make that happen? Hello there, Nick. You heard Duck Doom's voice, and as expected, it was a letdown. I basically compared it to Robert Downey Jr.'s Sherlock Holmes if he was evil and speaking without the British accent. Very weak for a character as well known as Doom. Honestly, I feel like even Johnny Depp would have done a better job with that role. Not to suggest that he was ever being considered for the role, but if it had to be an American actor who was born and raised here and never lived abroad, it could have just as easily been Johnny Depp, who is about the same age as Robert Downey Jr. Well, that's good to hear. Do you have some time to yourself, or are you? Well, actually, I guess now you're just gonna try to get some sleep because I imagine you've been up for quite some time. But yeah, my biggest concern, or let's just say, in a way, I was basically proven right that the Russos claim that Robert Downey Jr. was the only actor who could play Doctor Doom was completely creditless. The argument of somebody being a great actor, therefore they are a good choice for this role, is severely lacking in intelligence. And I'm going to prove to you why that is. We all know the lead singer of Queen, correct? Freddie Mercury. By many, he is considered to be one of the greatest greatest singers of all time, in general. Does that mean that if we were somehow able to bring him back to life, that he should be made the lead singer of a band like Linkin Park? Actually, that was a terrible example because Freddie Mercury is no longer living. Let me try to come up with a better one. It might take me a second to think of something. Um, Brad Pitt is regarded as one of the greatest actors of all time. Why then wasn't he considered for such a role? Many would likely argue that he's on the same level as Robert Downey Jr. Yeah, Robert Downey Jr., you could argue has greater range, but Brad Pitt certainly has shown he has the stuff. Leonardo DiCaprio is also regarded as a remarkable actor. Why couldn't he have played Doom? Why couldn't Matthew McConaughey have played Doom? Why couldn't um great, forgot his name again. Lovely. Okay, I'll go with an actor I can remember the name of. Why couldn't Matt Damon have been Doctor Doom? Heck, considering Tom Cruise was at one point their go-to for the role of Iron Man, why couldn't he have played or been considered for or asked about potentially taking up the role of Doctor Doom? Thank you for subscribing. Greetings from the United States. I wish Iron Man was back. I really do. But nope. He's not. This thing that calls itself Doom and is played by the same actor as Iron Man is all we get. This movie, for me, has just further proven my point that this was an awful idea. Not only did you choose a bizarre choice, not only did you go with a bizarre choice for this character, you also had no build-up to this character. You just chose a villain who's iconic, threw him into an Avengers movie, which doesn't really have any Avengers in it outside of Thor and Captain America. The only real recognizable Avengers, right? And then there's the fact that we have literally no idea how Captain America is even back in his younger, shall we say, age. Well, actually, that would be the correct way to say it. So basically, it seems like this movie is going to be a whole bunch of questions that need answering, some of which you could have answered by building Doctor Doom up over the course of at least a few movies. But you didn't do that. So it's gonna be, and I'm gonna go with a PG version of this. This is gonna be a cluster bomb, guaranteed. It's gonna fall apart. No, he's not Iron Man. I was just saying that because he was their original choice for Iron Man back when the first movie was being worked on, that it honestly might have made much more sense to have him play Doctor Doom than Robert Downey Jr. But as I have always said, the role of Doctor Doom should have gone to an actor of European descent. Someone from a country in Europe with a non-American accent and a non-English accent. My preference would have been somebody from Germany or potentially Denmark. Mads Mikkelsen, anyone? I mean, hello. You know, in Endgame, there was only one character who didn't know everybody. Sure, there were the Guardians who hadn't met. Well, no, actually they did because they fought together at the very end of Infinity War. But these characters literally don't know each other. So they're going to meet, get to know each other. There's so much that needs to be tackled in this one movie, alongside of revealing everything we need to know about Doom and his plan. To do that realistically, the movie would have to at least be 4 hours long. I'm doing something, that's why my camera was off. Sorry. This just might end up being the worst Marvel film ever made for the MCU. Bar none. For me, the worst MCU film that I've seen is Doctor Strange 2. With Captain Marvel as a close second. Actually, not a close second. That movie is better than Multiverse of Madness. But it's still not good. Hello there, Samuel Messier. I was gonna do this later today, but I just wanted to do it now. And the team they have lined up to take on Doom is pitiful, given what we saw in that trailer. Doom, in that trailer, has just been shown to be more powerful than Thanos was with all of the Infinity Stones at his disposal. If not more so. And these are the characters that are going to go up against him. There's no Doctor Strange. There's no Hulk. And what is Shuri in her more technologically based Black Panther suit going to be the stand-in for Iron Man? I'm sorry, but the Mark 50 from Infinity War would trounce any of Shuri's suits effortlessly. My favorite superhero? Well, um, for the longest time it had been Spider-Man. Then it kind of switched over to Iron Man, but I'm also a big fan of Batman. But if I had to choose one, which I really can't do, I'm gonna have to say it's a tie between Iron Man and Spider Man. I do still like Batman, but the problem is he's just way too oversaturated. He's way too in our faces. They don't give that character any kind of a break. They're always trying to reboot him, and when they do, they never give us a proper, Batman film. Yeah, I do remember you, Gojo. I'm just getting sick and tired of all this. Doctor Doom will remain a villain who continues to be a joke in the movies. They just don't care about adapting him properly. And this trailer proves that. They don't care any more now than they already had. And don't even get me started on Batman. I will never understand the need for two Batman films from the same company. Why couldn't Pattinson just be your only Batman? You see what I mean? Batman is so overrated. And I say this as a Batman fan, by the way. But it's true. He's so overrated, so oversaturated, that we're getting two Batman films with two completely different actors in that role within what? 1 to 2 years of each other? Maybe 2 to 3 years of each other? I won't say they should have stopped at Christian Bale, but they should have gotten someone who truly cares about the character inside and out, and not try to go with a distorted voice. You know, Batman is not that hard to pull off, despite what many people claim. You do not need a Herculean body for Batman. Because number one, it just makes no sense, realistically, for a character who's quite athletic and agile to have muscles on the level of Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime. Nice. Which smash? Thank you for the 3 likes, by the way, everyone. I really appreciate it. Part of the reason why my camera's not on is because I've got a little bit of a, not a salad. It's first thing I've had all day. It's chicken with fresh mozzarella, tomatoes, a little bit of arugula, and couscous. And I can't really hold a fork as well as my phone in my hand. will be able to buy one of those mounts or whatever they're called, so that the camera can stay on at all times and I can be hands free. Ultimate, very cool. Um, yeah. I already said it, but they just don't care about Doom. If they did, they would have gotten a different actor. They would have set him up. He would have been in that Fantastic Four First Steps movie. At the very least. His actor would have been from Europe. If they were smart, they would have brought Mads Mikkelsen back. Because literally nobody cares about Caecilius. Like, Caecilius was a waste of Mads Mikkelsen's time and talent. He deserved the role of a character like Doom. He has that presence. So what, is Doom gonna crack jokes? Is he basically gonna be an evil Iron Man that is snarky at times? Because that is gonna be god-awful if true. He'll basically be the Age of Ultron's Ultron if he had a human form. Whoever is making these decisions, if I was in charge of it all, I'd have them fired and replaced immediately. If it's Kevin Feige, he should be out. Retire. I mean, because let's look at the lineup we have going up against Doom, who in this trailer effortlessly blocks an attack from Thor. Namor, who Thanos, without any of the stones, could have flicked with just a single finger. The characters that Florence Pugh is her Black Widow is part of. All of them would be defeated simply by Thanos blowing on them. Like, they are basically just Captain America level. They'd get swatted like flies by a stone-less Thanos. Cyclops. Gambit, again, no challenge at all. And that whole "we need a miracle" speech leading into Captain America showing up, it's like, really? Him? Unless you're telling me that Captain America merged with like 10 other Captain Americas and became a super soldier times 100, which even that doesn't come close to threatening Doom based on this trailer, then it has to be some of the stupidest writing that's going to lead to Captain America making a difference in this fight. A little bit of Jujutsu Kaisen. I think we only watched like 3 or 4 episodes. Hello, The Wind 927 and MexCat F6 Oh, welcome to the stream. I want to make it perfectly clear that I wanted to see Doom in all his glory, beating the heck um, out of the heroes. An epic battle between the Avengers and other characters going up against him. But they've assembled a team of weaklings for the most part. Uh, it's okay. I kind of liked it until a certain character showed up, and now I just can't stop complaining about her. Because her power literally makes no sense to me. And I know you shouldn't take anime seriously, but I'm a 90s kid. When I was growing up, the series that were around were Yu Yu Hakusho and Dragon Ball Z, and while they had their goofy moments, when it came to fighting, you didn't have characters that used hammers and nails as weapons. And if you did, they weren't regular hammers and nails. They were some kind of magical instrument. Either it was symbolic of something and could transform into something else, or you know, it wasn't all it seemed to be. It's just hard for me to take this character seriously when she's acting all tough and she busts out a regular hammer and two nails. Instead of giving her like a war hammer. Or maybe giving her like a dart gun. Or a crossbow. I'll check out what you have, next, cat. I'll tell you this though. Um while it's while I will probably return to Jujutsu Kaisen at some point, reason why I haven't is because I've been watching it with a friend and I have to wait for him to be available. Um, I will never watch another episode of Chainsaw Man. I saw the first episode and decided, nope, no thanks. That was enough for me. Utterly ridiculous. What gets better? I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like the creator of Jujutsu Kaisen was trying to just make his own Naruto or Bleach, not make his own thing or her own thing. And that's something that I'm seeing in a lot of new shonen is that they're not really trying to do anything different. It's bothersome. Like, my two favorite anime series are, in no particular order, because I basically like them both equally, Yu Yu Hakusho and Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. There was a time when One Piece was up there for me as well, but that's fallen off so much that I don't even put that on a favorites list anymore. It's gotten that bad for me. Um, I liked Bleach, but I could not put that on a favorites list. I can only really do that if I like the main character, and not just like, but really like the main character. And Ichigo, for me, is one of the blandest protagonists I've ever encountered. I'll give, I can't believe I forgot his name. Is it Yuji from Jujutsu Kaisen? I'll give him this. I'll give it this. He is a far more interesting character than Ichigo. In the first episode, I could tell that he was immensely more interesting than Ichigo. Not a crybaby, not an emo. I think it's Yuji Itadora. Yeah, much better main character than Ichigo. Just based on first impressions alone. When I was watching Bleach, I was watching it for Shunsui, Hitsugaya, Urahara, Aizen, and to a lesser degree, Yamamoto. Those were the main reasons. Also Yoroichi. But I never liked Chad. Oh, Uryu. Never liked Chad. Never liked Orihime. And Ichigo to me was just there. I want to say this, and this individual will never hear this, but one person kept telling me that Gojo is basically the Jujutsu Kaisen equivalent to Kakashi. And while I see where he's coming from, they couldn't be any different from each other. Gojo is not a character that gets hyped up just for the sake of it. He's not a character who just exists for people to tell him how for people to talk about how amazing he is. He's a character who actually does win fights. He's a character that doesn't get trapped in a ball of water and requires kids to save him. He's a character who has immense power and actually backs it up. And in terms of personality, he's more akin to Urahara from Bleach than he is Kakashi. I like him a lot more than I ever did Kakashi. And to be honest, I don't think I ever did like Kakashi. What I like about Gojo is the fact that you can never tell what side he's on. He's mysterious. He's almost like a Cheshire cat in a way. He could be is he on the good side? Is he on the bad side? Is he just doing this because he finds it entertaining? Is he neutral? Like, where does his true allegiance lie? You know? That's the vibe I get from him. I see him as a character who could be smiling 1 minute, and the next minute, just because he's bored, he decides to cut loose and not literally demolish a city, but fight a bunch of they're called jujutsu sorcerers, just because he's bored out of his mind. Now, a lot of times that would bug me or seem boring to me, but with him, no, that's not the case. I actually find it compelling. You know what character I would compare Gojo to and actually say that, in my opinion, Gojo is a better version of? Hisoka from Hunter x Hunter. Gojo, to me, is actually Hisoka if he was written well. A character who enjoys fighting doesn't need to be a psychopath to the extent of having literally no morals and having some eerie scenes involving a young main protagonist. In some ways, I feel like Jujutsu Kaisen is actually a better Hunter x Hunter, which is not saying much because Gon is in my opinion, one of the worst protagonists I've ever seen. There's nothing to him. He's a blockhead. I don't know if you caught all that I said about Gojo, about the character Gojo, but I'll repeat it if you need me to. Oh, another positive for Jujutsu Kaisen. Maybe this changes, but for the most part, so far, there isn't any of that annoying normal people wanting to help. So they thrust themselves into dangerous situations, and the hero has to save them, which leads that character into being seriously hurt as a result. I cannot stand that trope because it's incredibly stupid, for one. You want to help the main character who has superpowers, but you're a regular human being. That'd be like Lois Lane believing that she needs to help Superman when there's no kryptonite around. What are you gonna do? Get eviscerated? Get incinerated? Get turned into ash? It's that Mary Jane nonsense they kept throwing into the Spider-Man games. And it's something that happens in Yu Yu Hakusho, and it is one of the things that I don't like about that series. At all. At all. There are two female characters in that series that continue to throw themselves into dangerous situations in the hopes of helping the main characters out somehow. And yet, if it weren't for those main characters, they would not survive the situations they put themselves into. Which to me makes them incredibly dumb. It might not bother me so much if it wasn't pretty much always female characters that do that. If it was male characters who did that from time to time, I might not be so angry about it. Okay, so that's all the talk about Doomsday done and dusted. The only way I'm watching that movie is if you, my viewers, ask me to. Because you want to know what I think about it. But because that hasn't happened, I'm not going to. I'm not going to hate watch. It's not good. It would basically be a form of punishment. sometimes it saddens me because I used to love the MCU. So I kind of feel a little heartbroken that it's become this. It's like watching something you love crash and burn. But anyway, what do I know? What do I know? Folks, I think we may just end the stream on that note. I just don't know what else to say. I'm kind of speechless now, having said what I had to say. It also doesn't help that the trailer for me was more than a bit depressing, which is kind of silly because this is a character we haven't been introduced to in the MCU. So it's like they're expecting you to be familiar with him and feel a certain way about his words, but all it does is lead to confusion. Um, and Xavier and Magneto, the Fox versions being there feels incredibly random without any context. So, yeah. I had seen someone on Reddit comment, "Please don't suck," and I'm just sitting here thinking to myself, that trailer basically confirmed that this movie is going to suck. It'd be different if the title of this movie was Doomsday Part 1, which would serve as a origin for Doctor Doom within the MCU, and then the movie that involves everyone coming together to beat him occurs after another movie where they fight together and meet each other, you know, and then after that movie, you have Doomsday Part 2. Then it would work. But you're just cramming way too much into a single film. At the very least, they could have had Doom appear in a new season of Loki that takes place before this film ever came out. And it could have been Doom in disguise, thus being played by a different actor. I just don't know. I'm sorry. I'm so confused. um, so confused. This this movie looks like it was put together by a group of college kids who got incredibly drunk and had never written a story, screenplay, what have you, in their lives. Had never directed a film before. Had never been involved with a Marvel film before. All of the above. I guess this is the Russo's equivalent to Game of Thrones season 8. Time will tell. Anyway, that's all I have for you. Thank you once again for joining me for another stream. Hope to see you all in the next one. Please like, comment, and subscribe as always. Trying to get to 400 subs and beyond. And here is my Iron Man in closing as usual. The truth is, I am Iron Man.